All right, y'all. Well, I reckon we're gonna have this conversation again, and this one might make a pretty good bit of y'all mad unless you can handle thinking outside the box a little bit. No,
That's your theme song
no,
for
the
your.
it ain't. I ain't from goddamn the mountains. We see this? Do we know what this is? This is a tool, right? Mm-hmm. Do we know what this is? It's a tool. Does this do everything? No. Is it good for a lot of things? Yeah. Will it help you get a lot of the jobs done? Yeah. Is it good for taking off little bitty things or specialized things or stuff like that? Nah. This is how you should look at Maxroll. Y'all, so many of these people that play this game, they look at this guide and this is it. Stop it. Okay? This game was not designed to run one thing. But I'm about to drop some stuff on you that's going to make you think. I'm going to give you some real reasons why you should stop sucking off this guide. There's so many of y'all that Maxroll says not to do that. Maxroll says not to do that. Now, disclaimer. This isn't an attack on Maxroll. It's a great guide. Because I know I'm fixing to get a lot of flame in the comments. Yeah, look at this guy just comment on Maxroll. I use Maxroll. It's right here, okay? What I'm trying to get y'all to understand is there might be other aspects to this. They could be withholding information. They could be intentionally not letting you know things. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? So the people that run this site, the contributors to this, are the top players in the game. However, there are other people besides these handful of folks that are phenom players that choose not to do YouTube, that choose not to write guides and stuff like that. Okay? Imagine that in a world. So just because somebody's on YouTube and somebody does a website doesn't mean that they're the king of the game. Again, a great tool, but it's put together by a couple of humans. So you have to put that aspect into it. Okay? Number two is this is their job. And they rely on this, and they rely on these views, and they rely on the community to go to their guide, correct? Okay. If they were to share every single solitary thing that made them the best players in the game, do you think they'd be the best players in the game after a while? No. Okay. And you have to look at it through the lens of other things, like, okay, fishing, for example. Cue the flame. Stick to fishing, Hawg. This is video games. Okay, competitive fishing is very similar to this. There's a leaderboard. There's a point system. There's all kind of stuff that goes on, right? You might hire somebody on a specific lake that you're fixing to fish a tournament on to take you around and show you how to catch them out there and show you what they're doing. But a smart man knows that that guide ain't taking you to the absolute best possible stuff that he's got, right? If you look into pro fishing, you'll start seeing that a bunch of these top guys have failed polygraph tests for information. I'm sure everybody's seen on the internet these walleye guys that stuffed weights. Now, that doesn't happen a lot. That happened up there. Walleye is a different thing. It doesn't happen in bass fishing. You can't get away with that. But they do cheat. They do get tournament information. They do get fishing information shared. That's against the rules. But it's hush hush because these guys make a lot of money for the sport. So that brings me to this. If you think that these top players are not running an assistant, whether that's a bot or a clanmate or somebody like that that is feeding them bounty mats, you're out of your mind. There is not enough time in the day for them to run bounties have all of these badass items that they have, run these leaderboards, build these builds, make this guide, do content every day, and run bounties. Y'all, I went through 6,000 veiled crystals in 20 minutes trying to roll one piece to area damage. Okay? It's not possible. I've met other people in the community that were in clans with these guys. And I'm not naming names. I'm just telling you how it is. But their clan members feeding them bounties. There is an advantage over you, the average player. And I'm not saying this to try to discredit the guide. I'm saying this to make y'all wake up and try different things. It's that simple, right? So if they're doing that, if you think outside the box and say, okay, to keep the advantage, to keep doing this, it's a competitive edge, and you might not care about the leaderboard, that's fine, but they do, because it makes them the top player. They're going to do things that they got to do, whether it's on a separate account or not, to get what they need. That goes hand in hand with a guide. They're not going to tell you immediately. They might tell you later after they've got their 150 spot or whatever. They're not going to tell you everything to make that character the most teetotal badass thing out there. They're going to make it really damn good, and majority of the community is going to follow that, and the majority of the community is going to stay around the same level. If we're all running the same thing, this build right here, we're all going to be the same. Have you thought about that? But if you look and you start messing around with things, you can start getting different outcomes. Okay? Here's a perfect example. We're talking about a 150 group trash killer. That's what everybody wants to get on the leaderboard if you're interested in that, okay? This is the problem I have. Doesn't make any sense. They keep changing it up. They've got spectral blades here. You don't want spectral blades. They've got wave of force here. You don't want wave of force. I don't understand why they're okay. This is what I'm talking about. When we started this season, even before the season start, all they talked about was magic missile, magic missile, magic missile in the PTR. Magic missile's awesome. It's going to be magic missile. Okay? Then when the season came out, all they said to run was storm armor. They said everything else was going to be useless except for the storm armor. Well, anybody that's ever played Diablo series, I've played since 2002 or whenever Diablo 2 came out. Nobody ever runs a power like that to kill one enemy. Doesn't even kill an elite. That's the most Mickey Mouse useless bullshit passive that you could ever have, or extra sanctimonious power or whatever. Okay, everybody knew that was crap. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, after they've been using magic missile, they come out and say you should use magic missile. Well, no shit. You talked about it all during the PTR. Well, now they're coming out with something else. Don't follow this to the T. You have to learn the game, y'all. Magic missile is perfect because it refills your mana, your arcane power after you cast Star Pack. Everything's relying around Star Pack when you're doing these trash kills, okay? Don't run the Comet build. Run the Star Pack. So, another example. Right here, they're telling you run Zai's Stone of Vengeance. Well, Zai's Stone of Vengeance is damage you deal is increased by 16% for every 10 yards between you and the enemy. Maximum 80% at 50 yards. Perfect. So why would they tell you to run Audacity? You deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards. Y'all, when you're doing a 150 trash, you're trying to make sure that you get that 80% damage from your Zais. So you're going to be at a 50-yard distance, which is a teleport, is what they say. Okay? So why would you run that? Doesn't make sense. You're supposed to run power hungry. Let me show you. Getting me all riled up. Here's your Zais. Okay? You run power hungry. you deal 30% additional damage to enemies farther than 30 yards. That way it's stacking on top of your Zais. You see what I'm talking about now? It's not that I'm knocking the guide, it's that I'm knocking everybody that's following this blindly. There's other options that are better. Astral Presence, perfect example. Everything's relying around your arcane cycle. You deal 200% more damage on your arcane cycle. So who cares about elemental exposure? Yeah, it's going to give you a couple of extra a little bit extra damage on your non-arcane cycles. Who cares? That's not your damage dealing cycle. If you're a wizard player, you know what I'm talking about. So if you look at the way that Star Pact works, and this is again going to prove what I'm talking about learn the game, stop relying on the guide. This says right here, expend all remaining arcane power. Each point of extra arcane power spent increases the damage of meteor. Okay, so why wouldn't, look, if you hold control, you will see extras. Each extra point of arcane power spent increases the impact damage by 20%. Each extra point spent. So if you turn that Astral Presence on, it gives you 20 more arcane power times 20. Do the math. Run that. But they don't want you to run that. I've noticed the power difference, and there is a big debate about it, okay? I've talked to some top players, and it's really up to you what you want to run. If you want your other meteors element cycles to have better damage, run the elemental. But my point is, they can't give you a definitive answer as to why to use that. They just said it's a nice compliment to the Tal Rasha set. Okay, I need a little bit better than that. And what I just told you about this makes 100% sense because it factors right into the skill. It's how the skill works. It's the mechanic of the skill. So add extra damage to the skill. So that's my point, okay? Another point. You watch some of their stuff. They say when you're running the puzzle ring to not kill greed. She doesn't drop anything. She doesn't do this. Yo, that's BULLSHIT. I've gotten primal drops from her before. Take the 60 seconds and kill her. It's an animation. You already have to wait for the vault to count down anyway. You shouldn't be freaking out about how fast you can run puzzle rings. It's not something to run fast. You get what I'm saying? Okay, here's another perfect example. They tell you that an augment, you should always get an ancient because the augment's going to be more beneficial to you than, a regular piece would be. That's not true either. And a lot of y'all commented on a couple of video I put out about that saying, this guy doesn't understand the benefit of intelligence. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. This is a perfect example. You get a garbage roll like this. Okay? And you augment it. Minus 10.4 damage. Look at the one I've got on. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. Just because it's ancient doesn't mean it's better. And I don't mean to knock anybody. They put out a really great guide. I use it myself. My whole point with this is stop following this like the Bible. Use it as you would use this wrench, as a tool. Okay? That's what it is. It's a great tool. You can play the game. The game will tell you things, just like I showed you with Star Pact. And there's a bunch of other things that it applies to, but I'm not going to sit here all day. This is just some quick stuff that I can show you, right? But if you think that these guys are some kind of super elitist player that's way better than you could ever be, that's not the case. And if you think that they're just way luckier than you are, that's not the case either. So put all that to bed, use the guide, and play the game. Try different things. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten in a game with a player and they asked me for my help They see what my character does. They see what all of my stuff does. No problem. But then when I tell them what to do, they say, well, I'm looking at Maxroll, and Maxroll says this. Y'all, I used to be that way. So that's why I feel like compelled to tell you this. Last season, when I came back to the game after a couple years off, I had to rely a lot on this guide until I remembered how to play the game again. And I had an experience with a character. I was playing my monk. He was 10,000 times faster than I was. He tried to help me, and I said, Maxroll. And he told me, this is a variant. You got to play with things. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, this game's a lot different than D2 or the other games. You can play with things. So I started playing with things, and I built a monk that was fast as hell, fast as grease lightning, and it did close to 6 million sheet damage. And I could do anything and everything I wanted to with it. So that's my point. Just have fun with the game, y'all. Sometimes you hit a brick wall and your items ain't rolling right and you're just not knowing what to do and la la la. Play with things, right? Change it up. Have a good time. Enjoy the game. Don't be so hard focused on Maxroll or Icy Veins or whatever your guide of choice is. It's a guide. It's not, you're not chained to it. Okay? Anyway, thanks for the channel growth, y'all. This is my opinion, okay? Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. You might not like it. That's fine. Let me know in the comments. I'm a big boy. I can take it. I appreciate it. But thanks for the subs. Thanks for the growth. Let's keep it going. We are recruiting for our clan, PLEB clan. If you need some help, okay? If you want to do GRs, if you're not able to do big clears, if you need help building the support, we got room for you. We do all this stuff over here. We are casual players. Come on in. We got a Discord. Links in the description. Make sure you join in. We got parties just about every night in the voice chat. We ain't mild, we wild. So if you want to get in, we'd love to have you. Make sure you hit sub. That'd be so awesome. But thanks. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time.